There are moments in life when pain stays silent, when the wounds caused by people we trusted go unseen and unspoken. You prayed, you endured, you stayed quiet, and you chose peace over revenge. Yet deep inside, questions kept rising. Does God see what was done to me? Does He notice the betrayal, the injustice, the tears I never explained to anyone? Many walk through life carrying scars left by others, believing that those who caused the hurt walked away untouched. But the truth is deeper, more powerful, and far more spiritual than human understanding allows. God is not indifferent to pain, and He is never absent from injustice. When God begins to deal with those who hurt you, it rarely looks the way people expect. It is not always loud, public, or immediate. Divine justice moves in the unseen realm long before it becomes visible. God does not respond emotionally, He responds purposefully. While you may think nothing is happening, heaven may already be in motion. God works in ways that protect your heart, preserve your future, and teach lessons that human revenge never could. What you thought was silence was preparation. What you assumed was delay was mercy mixed with authority. There are seasons when God asks you to remain still, not because He is ignoring your pain, but because He is handling the matter in a higher dimension. While you focus on healing, He addresses accountability. While you grow stronger in faith, He deals with the consequences others must face. God does not rush judgment, but He never forgets injustice. He sees motives, intentions, and actions that humans overlook. Nothing escapes His awareness. Many people misunderstand divine correction because they are looking for punishment instead of transformation. Sometimes God removes protection. Sometimes He allows confusion. Sometimes He exposes truth, and sometimes He lets people face the weight of their own choices. All of this unfolds quietly, spiritually, and precisely. When God is dealing with someone, He does not need your involvement. Your role is not to fight back, explain yourself, or prove anything. Your role is to trust, to grow, and to remain aligned with His will. This message is not about revenge. It is about discernment. It is about recognizing spiritual patterns that reveal when God has stepped in. It is about understanding that justice does not always come through confrontation, but often through divine separation, inner unrest, and loss of peace. God knows how to correct without destroying, humble without humiliating, and teach without causing unnecessary harm. If you have ever felt overlooked, misunderstood, or wounded by others while trying to do what is right, this message speaks to you. God has not forgotten you. He has not dismissed your tears. He has not ignored what was done behind closed doors. In ways you may not immediately recognize, He is working, aligning, exposing, and restoring. When God begins to deal with those who hurt you, the signs are subtle but powerful, spiritual but undeniable, and purposeful beyond human logic. God sees every injustice and responds in His time, not ours. Many people struggle deeply with this truth because human pain desires immediate answers and visible justice. When someone hurts you, betrays your trust, or causes emotional damage, the natural reaction is to look for instant consequences. Silence can feel like neglect, delay can feel like denial, and waiting can feel like abandonment. But God's vision is not limited to the moment of pain. He sees the full picture, the hidden motives, the private actions, the intentions behind words, and the long-term impact of every choice. Nothing is missed, nothing is forgotten, and nothing is ignored. Divine justice operates beyond emotion and impulse. It is deliberate, precise, and purposeful. While you may be asking why nothing seems to happen, God may already be aligning events, timing, and circumstances in ways that go far beyond surface-level correction. God's timing often tests faith because it conflicts with human urgency. Pain wants quick relief, and wounds want instant validation. But God is not ruled by emotional reaction. He is governed by wisdom. He understands that immediate justice does not always produce lasting transformation. Sometimes God delays not to excuse wrongdoing, but to allow truth to mature, hearts to be revealed, and accountability to unfold naturally. His silence does not mean approval, it means restraint. It means he is allowing space for reflection, repentance, and the exposure of reality without force. While you wait, God is observing how you respond, how you heal, and how you grow. Your response to pain is often more important than the offense itself. Many misunderstand divine justice because they expect it to look like punishment. God's justice is often corrective rather than destructive. He addresses the root, not just the behavior. He allows people to face the weight of their own actions, the consequences of their decisions, and the internal unrest that follows wrong choices. Sometimes justice looks like loss of peace. Sometimes it looks like broken relationships. Sometimes it looks like doors closing, confusion setting in, or progress slowing. God knows how to deal with people privately, in ways that protect you, while teaching them lessons they could not learn through confrontation. Trusting God's timing requires releasing control. It means letting go of the desire to explain yourself, defend your name, or force outcomes. God does not need your help to correct what was wrong. When you step back, you allow him to step forward fully. Waiting does not mean weakness. It means confidence that God's way is higher than human response. While you wait, healing begins, strength develops, perspective changes. What once hurt deeply begins to lose its power over you. That is not accidental. It is intentional. God is healing you while dealing with what caused the pain. Often the greatest sign that God has seen the injustice is the way he restores you. Peace returns, clarity grows, confidence rebuilds. You begin to move forward without the weight of bitterness. Meanwhile, those who caused harm may experience inner unrest, resistance, or stagnation they cannot explain. This contrast is not coincidence. It is alignment. God lifts you while handling what needs correction elsewhere. His justice does not always announce itself, but it always accomplishes its purpose. When God responds in his time, the outcome is deeper, fairer, and more lasting than anything human effort could produce. His timing protects your future, guards your heart, and ensures that justice does not damage you in the process. What feels slow is often precise. What feels silent is often active. God sees every injustice, responds with wisdom, and ensures that nothing done against you goes unanswered. Even when the process unfolds quietly and beyond human awareness, divine silence often means God is working behind the scenes. There are seasons when prayers seem unanswered, explanations never arrive, and the situation remains unchanged despite deep emotional pain. In these moments, silence can feel heavier than the offense itself. People often assume that if God were involved, there would be immediate signs, visible correction, or clear resolution. But spiritual work rarely announces itself. God often chooses silence not as neglect, but as strategy. While nothing appears to be happening in the visible world, movement may already be taking place in the unseen realm, where timing, hearts, and circumstances are being aligned for a greater purpose. Silence is uncomfortable because it removes control. When God is silent, there is no validation, no timeline, and no assurance that satisfies human logic. Yet divine silence requires trust and patience. It forces the believer to lean on faith rather than evidence. Many of the greatest transformations in Scripture occurred during long periods of waiting and silence, where nothing appeared to change on the surface. God often works quietly because his goal is not spectacle, but permanence. Loud correction may satisfy emotion, but quiet correction reshapes character. When God is silent, he may be protecting you from further harm. Immediate confrontation or exposure could reopen wounds, intensify conflict, or pull you back into emotional chaos. Silence allows God to place distance between you and the source of pain. While you move forward, heal, and regain strength, God continues to address what must be corrected without involving you directly. This separation is intentional. It guards your heart, preserves your growth, and keeps you from becoming entangled in battles that do not belong to you. Divine silence also allows truth to surface naturally. When God intervenes too quickly, people may attribute outcomes to coincidence, manipulation, or human effort. When God allows time, patterns emerge, motives are revealed, and reality exposes itself without force. Over time, people show who they truly are through consistent behavior. Silence creates space for self-exposure, accountability, and consequence without confrontation. God allows this because lasting truth carries more weight than forced revelation. During these silent seasons, God is also working within you. Pain shifts perspective, waiting develops maturity, silence teaches discernment. Instead of reacting emotionally, you begin to respond spiritually. Strength replaces desperation. Clarity replaces confusion. You learn to listen inwardly rather than demand outward answers. This internal transformation is part of God's justice. He is not only correcting what was done to you, but also preparing you for what is ahead. Without this inner work, external justice would be incomplete. Many mistake silence for absence, but absence and silence are not the same. God can be fully present while choosing not to speak. His silence is not emptiness, it is concentration. It is the calm of a master builder working on a foundation before revealing the structure. The absence of noise does not indicate inactivity, it often indicates precision. God moves with intention, not impulse, and his quiet work produces results that cannot be reversed. When the season of silence ends, clarity arrives without struggle. You begin to understand why you were kept still, why you were protected from involvement, and why waiting was necessary. You realize that God was rearranging paths, removing influences, and establishing justice in ways you could not see. Divine silence is not a delay of justice, but a deeper form of it, operating beyond human awareness while shaping outcomes that are lasting, balanced, and aligned with God's purpose. God protects your heart while addressing accountability elsewhere. One of the most overlooked aspects of divine justice is God's concern for your emotional and spiritual well-being. When someone hurts you, the instinct is often to focus on what should happen to them, but God's first priority is frequently what must happen within you. Pain has the ability to harden the heart, distort trust, and create wounds that, if left untreated, affect future relationships and peace. God understands this, which is why he often removes you from the center of the conflict while he works beyond your sight. Protection is not always visible, but it is always intentional. God's protection often appears as distance. He creates separation not to punish, but to preserve. The space between you and the source of pain is a form of mercy. It prevents repeated harm, interrupts emotional cycles, and allows healing to begin without interference. While you may interpret separation as loss or injustice, God views it as covering. He knows that your involvement in correction or confrontation could damage your growth, pull you back into emotional turmoil, or burden you with responsibility that is not yours to carry. By stepping in, God shields your heart from further injury. As he protects you, God simultaneously addresses accountability elsewhere. He does not require your presence to bring correction. In fact, divine accountability is often more effective without human involvement. God knows how to convict deeply, deal privately, and correct thoroughly. He reaches places no human conversation, argument, or confrontation ever could. While you focus on healing, he works within their conscience, circumstances, and inner world. Accountability does not always manifest as immediate consequence. Sometimes it surfaces as unrest, loss of clarity, confusion, or disruption in areas once stable. This process can be confusing because you may expect justice to involve recognition, apology, or resolution. Yet God's justice operates with higher priorities. He values your peace more than your validation. He understands that apology without transformation brings little relief. That is why he often keeps you unaware of how he is working in the other person's life. Knowing the details could reopen wounds or awaken emotions you have already begun to outgrow. Protection sometimes includes ignorance of the process. While God works on accountability elsewhere, he is actively rebuilding you. Pain reshapes vision, loss refines discernment. God uses what was meant to break you to strengthen you quietly. He restores confidence, steadies emotions, and replaces confusion with wisdom. What once caused insecurity begins to lose its power. You grow without realizing it, becoming less reactive, more grounded, and more aligned with peace. This growth is not accidental. It is the result of divine protection operating simultaneously with justice. Many do not realize that God's correction often progresses in stages. Immediate consequences may not appear, but internal shifts begin. Relationships change, opportunities narrow, restlessness replaces confidence. When God addresses accountability, it may come through interruption rather than punishment. He dismantles what should not continue, allows discomfort that prompts reflection, and limits progress where integrity was compromised. Meanwhile, you advance, strengthen, and heal. This contrast is part of divine order. God does not always restore what was taken, but he restores what was affected. You may not receive explanations or closure, but you gain peace and clarity. You may never hear acknowledgement, but you experience freedom from emotional weight. That is evidence of God's protection. While accountability unfolds quietly elsewhere, your heart is being repaired, fortified, and prepared for what lies ahead. God does not expose you to more damage while teaching others lessons. He separates healing from correction, ensuring your well-being while justice moves according to his wisdom. Loss of peace and inner unrest are signs of divine conviction. When God begins to deal with those who have caused harm, the first shift often happens internally rather than externally. Outward life may appear unchanged, yet something beneath the surface begins to unravel. Peace quietly leaves, clarity fades, and restlessness takes root. This unrest is not random. It is not emotional coincidence or psychological discomfort alone. It is often the weight of conscience awakening under divine conviction. God knows how to speak to the inner world where no one else can interfere, reaching thoughts, emotions, and motives that have long been ignored or justified. Inner unrest is uncomfortable because it removes the illusion of control. People who once felt confident in their actions begin to feel unsettled without understanding why. Sleep becomes restless, thoughts replay, justifications lose their strength. The mind searches for peace, but cannot find it in familiar places. This is often the beginning of divine correction. God does not always confront outward behavior first. He confronts the heart. He allows unease to grow so that reflection becomes unavoidable. When peace is withdrawn, it signals that alignment has been lost. God uses inner unrest because it cannot be argued with or avoided. External correction can be ignored, denied, or blamed on others. Internal conviction follows a person everywhere. It interrupts joy, disrupts focus, and dismantles false security. This form of correction is precise and deeply personal. It reveals truth without accusation and exposes reality without public display. God does this because true change cannot be forced, it must be realized. Conviction invites awareness, not condemnation. It opens the door to repentance, humility, and transformation if the heart remains responsive. Many misinterpret this unrest as bad circumstances or emotional stress, but it often intensifies when ignored. When people refuse to address what God is revealing, peace does not return. Instead, confusion grows, decisions feel unstable, confidence weakens. What once felt certain begins to unravel. God allows this disorientation to continue because comfort without correction leads to deeper blindness. The absence of peace becomes a guide, pointing to areas that require reflection and alignment. While inner unrest unfolds in those being corrected, you may notice peace returning to your own life. This contrast is not accidental. God often restores peace to the wounded, while conviction stirs the one who caused harm. This shift serves two purposes. It reassures you that your trust was not misplaced, and it confirms that justice is moving without your involvement. You are not required to witness or participate in this process. In fact, remaining detached allows healing to continue uninterrupted. Divine conviction does not always produce visible change immediately. Sometimes it manifests as delay, hesitation, or repeated setbacks. These interruptions are often the result of inner conflict unresolved. God allows instability to remain until truth is acknowledged. This process can last longer than expected because transformation takes time. God values depth over speed. He is more concerned with permanent correction than quick resolution. Inner unrest is one of the most merciful forms of divine intervention because it invites change without destruction. God corrects by awakening the conscience, restoring moral awareness, and allowing discomfort to lead the heart back toward integrity. It is quiet, personal, and undeniable. When peace is lost, it is often because God has stepped in, not to punish outwardly, but to realign inwardly, ensuring that what was done is not ignored and that truth has room to surface and take root. God uses separation and exposure rather than human revenge. When someone hurts you deeply, the natural desire is often to see things balanced immediately, to witness acknowledgement, apology, or visible consequences. Human instincts lean toward confrontation or retaliation because pain seeks expression. But God's ways are higher and more effective. He understands that revenge only multiplies damage and ties the wounded person emotionally to the offense. That is why divine justice rarely operates through dramatic confrontation. Instead, God often chooses separation and exposure as tools of correction, allowing truth to surface without drawing you back into harm. Separation is one of God's most powerful yet misunderstood methods. When God separates you from someone who hurt you, it is not always to punish them, but to protect and elevate you. Distance creates clarity. It breaks unhealthy emotional attachments and stops cycles of manipulation, control, or repeated harm. You may initially feel confused or saddened by the separation, but over time you begin to realize that peace has returned, clarity has increased, and emotional stability has grown. This is not coincidence. God knows that your healing cannot fully occur while you remain connected to the source of pain. At the same time, separation often exposes what was hidden. When God removes influence, control, or access, people are revealed without needing to be accused. Their patterns become visible, their behavior speaks without interruption. God allows time to do what confrontation often fails to accomplish. Over time, inconsistency, dishonesty, or harmful intent surfaces naturally. Exposure through time is more accurate than exposure through argument. God allows reality to reveal itself without your participation. Exposure does not always mean public embarrassment. Often it is subtle and internal. It can appear as patterns repeating, trust eroding, relationships weakening, or opportunities closing. God exposes by removing covering, not by broadcasting wrongdoing. When divine covering lifts, what was once hidden becomes evident through consequences and reflection. This kind of exposure leads to awareness rather than defensiveness. It forces individuals to face themselves without the ability to blame others. God avoids using you as the instrument of revenge because He values your future more than emotional release. Involving you in retaliation would tether you to the very pain He is trying to remove. Revenge hardens the heart, distorts judgment, and steals peace. God's approach frees you while still addressing what must be corrected. You move forward while accountability follows its own path. That separation is intentional. It ensures that healing and justice do not collide in a way that damages you. Many struggle with this process because exposure takes time. There may be moments when it appears that nothing is happening, or that those who caused harm are moving on without consequence. But divine exposure is not rushed. God allows situations to mature so that the outcome is undeniable and lasting. Forced revelation can be dismissed. Natural revelation cannot be ignored. As separation continues, you often notice growth within yourself. Confidence returns, discernment sharpens, emotional dependency weakens. You no longer crave validation from those who hurt you. This growth is a sign that God's method is working. You are no longer tied to the offense. Meanwhile, exposure unfolds in ways you may never fully witness, but its impact is real. God's justice does not humiliate for satisfaction. It corrects for transformation. Separation creates safety. Exposure creates awareness. Together, they accomplish what revenge never could. They protect you, reveal truth, and allow accountability to unfold without pulling you back into conflict. When God chooses separation and exposure, it is proof that He is actively handling the matter while securing your peace and future. Your healing and growth are evidence that God has taken control. One of the clearest signs that divine justice is already in motion is the quiet transformation happening within you. While you may have expected closure through explanations or visible outcomes, God often chooses a different confirmation. He restores you before circumstances change, before accountability becomes visible, before truth is acknowledged. Your inner world begins to shift. Pain loses its grip. Emotional weight becomes lighter. What once consumed your thoughts no longer dominates your peace. This change is not random, nor is it self-produced. It is evidence that God has stepped in and assumed authority over what you could not control. Healing does not mean forgetting what happened. It means the memory no longer governs your emotions. God does not erase the past. He redeems its impact. Triggers weaken, reactions soften. You stop replaying conversations, defending yourself in your thoughts, or imagining different outcomes. Where there was confusion, clarity grows. Where there was heaviness, peace begins to settle. This internal freedom is often the first outcome of divine intervention. God knows that restoring your heart matters more than proving a point or displaying justice publicly. Growth often comes quietly. You may not realize how much you have changed until you encounter situations that once would have shaken you. You respond differently. You speak with more discernment. You walk away more easily. Your boundaries strengthen without bitterness. This is not emotional detachment. It is spiritual maturity. God strengthens the wounded so they do not bleed on the future. When He takes control, He ensures that what harmed you does not shape who you become. Another sign of God's involvement is the return of peace without resolution. You feel calm even though questions remain unanswered. You move forward without closure. You accept what you cannot change without resentment. This kind of peace cannot be forced. It is given. It is the result of trust replacing urgency. God settles the heart so that justice can unfold without damaging you in the process. When peace returns before explanations arrive, it is proof that God is handling what you released to Him. Growth also appears in perspective. You stop blaming yourself for what happened. You understand that not everything requires your understanding. Wisdom replaces self-doubt. Compassion replaces bitterness. You no longer measure your worth by how others treated you. This shift is powerful because it frees you from emotional dependency. God restores identity before restoring circumstances. When your sense of self is anchored in Him, the actions of others lose their power to define or destabilize you. As you grow, you may notice that you no longer desire revenge or validation. The urge to be proven right fades. The need to be seen as wrong dissolves. This does not happen through suppression, but through healing. God removes the craving for justice by replacing it with peace. When He takes control, you are no longer fueled by pain. You are guided by clarity. This change is one of the strongest confirmations that God is active on your behalf. You may also notice alignment returning to your life. Opportunities open. Relationships feel healthier. Decisions come with less anxiety. Joy feels lighter and more natural. God often restores momentum when healing has taken root. Forward movement is not a coincidence. It is a sign that the weight of injustice no longer blocks your path. While others deal with the internal consequences of their actions, you are being repositioned for what lies ahead. When God takes control, the focus shifts from what was done to you to what is being built within you. You become stronger, wiser, and more anchored in peace. This transformation is the answer, the confirmation, and the evidence. Justice does not always arrive as visible correction, but healing always reveals divine involvement. When your heart is restored, your mind is renewed, and your life moves forward without bitterness, it is clear that God has stepped in, taken authority, and begun working in ways that protect your future while resolving what you entrusted to Him.